All right, so good morning, everybody. Today is September 11th of 2024, and today we are going to continue with our journey through pseudocode and also through MATLAB, okay? And I'm going to talk about a couple of the structures that we're going to do on our first two programs, okay? Programming in MATLAB. All right. So the first thing that I want to talk to you about is just what our schedule is going to look like. I want to remind you that this coming Monday, which would be September 16th, we have no class, no face-to-face, okay? So what that means is class and lab are going to be asynchronous. So that means that you will be doing those on your own, right? So in other words, I will have stuff posted for you for the lecture, and for the lab, you're just going to continue working through your MATLAB onboarding. And by the end of this period, you should be completed. Some of you are already completed, which is fantastic. But you can take that time on Monday to do it. And then you need to submit the completion certificate that's available to you in the MATLAB onboarding program. Okay, so when you get to that point, you'll be ready to start looking at a little bit of code. But basically, we were talking about what stuff looks like in a MATLAB environment, and we're not 100% ready to start coding at this point, but we are ready to start looking at how stuff looks from a perspective within the MATLAB environment. And I really think that the code that we have written, or excuse me, the experience that we had doing the onboarding is really effective in getting you ready to use MATLAB. At any rate, when you use MATLAB online, when you do it, let's see what I've got on here. All right, so here's an actual little program. I'm not even sure this one works out, but let's take a look at what's going on with this MATLAB code, so that when you start coding, you can bring these ideas into your own coding. I'm not sure if it records by showing that screen, so I want to come back over here and make sure. All right. Last time we had talked a little bit about this idea of a hello world program, or just an opening up your computing environment and recognizing that you are that you're working in a particular program. So the first thing about this code, and we'll see in just a moment if it's going to run properly or not, but what I was doing with this, and what I'd like you to do, would be to accept user input and put out a string of just some answers. So in MATLAB, and this varies from person to person, but in MATLAB, whenever you start a line with the percentage sign, that means a comment. And comments are very important because that allows me to follow your work. So if you start a new structure, or if you want to tell me what you're going to do, as long as you put that % sign in front, it's not going to be registered in the program. It will be just something that you're communicating either to yourself or to the other person who's going to be reading your code. And I've been doing this. I've been commenting code I always comment my code. So what do you think, as a student who's learning how to code, what do you think some very practical reasons might be, aside from telling me what you're doing? Why do you think you might want to comment? Yes. For editing. Yes, for editing. Very, very good. Excellent. Anything else? Oh, finding your place in code is beautiful. Absolutely. Yeah, like where you are, like if you write a big program and it's 50 or 60 or 100 lines of code, if you comment, this is where I start the decision structure, or this is where I ask for input, then you don't have to go through the whole thing. The other thing is, you can run sections instead of running the entire program. You can run just a section. So that can be really useful. So Dominic was in class in ES 1000 yesterday, and we had Lucas Shaw come over from computer services to talk about his profession. I don't know if you remember this, but he said at one point when he was at University of Wyoming, he basically shut down 2 or 3 servers running his code. And that is a really interesting, that was really interesting to me, because back in the old days, right, and Lucas is old enough that I can say that about him, but right now, memory is not a big problem with computing. I mean, you just sort of write stuff and it works and it compiles. But really, even 20 years ago when Lucas was in school, making sure that you had sufficient memory to do operations was a huge deal. And I took down a computer at my college playing a game with another guy online one time, but that was another story. We'll save that for another day. But yeah, so I mean, it was a big consideration. So, and now you have to have a really big program to take stuff down, right? But if you're compiling over and over again, if you're just looking at a section of code, if you have to run the whole piece of code, it's going to take longer, and you're going to have this potential of creating more errors that don't have anything to do with what you're working on at that time. So if you just put things in sections really logically, really in an organized fashion, and then comment it in order to keep yourself straight, you can really save time on the compiling and on the running, the execution of the code as well. All right. So here, I just wrote 3 comments to begin. Slightly advanced version of the Hello World program. What a Hello World program does is you just turn the computer on and it comes up and it says Hello World. Okay. And so this is just very slightly different, very slightly enhanced. So basically what I said was I want to have this variable time is equal to my input, and the input statement is I just woke up, is it AM or PM? And then the quote, colon, quote, S, quote, single quote, that just means I'm going to accept a string. Okay, and this is what we talked about, the difference between a numeric variable and a string. So this is pretty specific in the way I wanted to accept it, but I didn't want to get a 1, 2, or 3. I wanted to have either AM or PM. And then it's going to, so what that's going to do is ask the user to input whether it's AM or PM, and then it checks for that type. So MATLAB can say either good morning or good evening. So it says if time is double equal sign, which is a string thing, it says it has to be exactly equal to small a, small m. And we're going to check that out in just a minute too. Then fprintf just means that's going to be an output. The program will say good morning world to the user. If it says capital AM, you'll see it does the same thing. So in other words, that's how picky strings can be. So that also means that if you go capital A, small m, it's not going to recognize anything. So we'll test all of that as well. All right. Else, so that's what the decision structure is. If time is AM, you're going to output good morning world. Else if time is equal to capital AM, you're going to output good morning world. Else if, which is just like an if, only it's just meaning that there's a string of them. The time is PM, we're going to fprint that. And you'll notice I did not do a capital for PM. So we're going to see what that does as well. So if you say, if you input PM, the program should output good evening world. And then the comment says if it's not AM or PM, if it's anything else, it returns hello world. Okay. So else is the bottom of that structure, meaning I go, if this happens, else if are intermediates. And then at the end, else, just print hello world. So it should print out something no matter what we put in, as long as it's a 2-character string. So let's find out, right? All right, so the program will execute down here. If you've got this in the workspace, should be able to hit run. And let's see, let's just run it. All right, so there, it asks me It says, I just woke up. Is it AM or PM? Let's tell it it's AM, small letters. It says, good morning, world. Yay. Let's run it again. Just woke up. Is it AM or PM? Let's do capital AM. Good morning, world, right? Is it AM or PM? PM should say, good evening, world. And then let's see if I say PM capital, it should just say hello, world. Strange answer, but hello, world. See? So the output is just based upon what you input. So if I didn't input exactly, and I don't know why I really did that, why I had a capital and small AM, but I just used small PM. I don't know, something struck me at the time. But let's try a couple of other things. What if I type in, what time is it? Let's just say XX. Since it's a 2-string, it should just say strange answer, but hello, world. But if I type in a 3-character string, let's find out. It doesn't know what to do with it. See, so that string is determined by the size of the string, which is just 2 characters. Okay. So that's how things execute in a MATLAB environment. It's really pretty simple. If you wanted it to pause on errors, if I had something that was more, oh, this is a GPA averaging program. This is cute. Let me see if this one runs. Okay, so this is a program that a student wrote, this is a computer science student, but you take the total number of credits that you have. Let's just say if you're taking 15 credits, you have a total of, let's see, I better add this up, right? Because I don't want to, if we have 15, let's say we have a 5 math credit, 3, 2, that would be 10, 4, and 1, okay? So let's just say we have a 5 credit class, a 3 credit class, a 4, or 3, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, one of each, all right? So that means that we're going to have a total of 5 classes and enter the course. What does she want for that? Let's just say 1,000. I don't know if it'll take that number or not. Credits for the course is 1, letter grade A. And I think it might need a capital A. See, so it gives me an error at that point. So we'll try again. A doesn't like that either. It may want a number. Yeah, it wants a number. Okay. So once again, that gets around that string problem that we talked about. And you can see that in the code. If the grades equal A, then this, blah, blah, blah. All right. So let's try and run it again. All right. Enter course. Let's just say 1,000. Credits 1. Letter grade, let's say it's a 5. We got another course. What's a 2-credit course? You're taking a paramedic course. It's let's just call it 1001. You're taking safety and like CPR, okay? And let's just say that that's that 2-credit course, and you get a B in the course. So that's a that's going to be a big old. I just gave you a 5, so somebody got an A++ in 1,000. All right, so let's enter another course, 1002, and let's say that the credits for that course is 3, and the letter grade for that course is a 1. You did badly in that one. And then you enter another course, 2,000, and that's 543.2. And let's say you got a B in that course, and it doesn't like that. Okay, so there's an invalid data type. It must be numerical or logical. All right, so there's something that it doesn't like about that, but this is how the error message comes out. So if you want to run and pause on errors, it will also do that, right? But I like this. This is actually, and in MATLAB, this is sort of an interesting point, is you get hung up on input a lot, okay? Some programs are much better at accepting input than others. MATLAB is sort of on a scale of 1 to 5, where 1 is horrible and 5 is super duper. I would give it a 3, maybe 2-ish, a 2+. So you have to be really careful. And the most careful thing you have to do is in accepting strings, but it also has trouble. It just really wants everything to look a certain way. So you have to be careful when you ask for user input, that you're going to actually be able to respond to that. All right, but let's take a look at how this program should execute. We have the total credits, which once again, that's going to be a user number. And if then it starts with the sum credit list is equal to 0, but it's going to start adding things as we total up the credit. Okay. Now this is an interesting symbol, the tilde equal sign. And if we can look at that in the help feature here. You can go up to documentation and just type it in and see what it tells us. And it tells us the search string must contain at least one letter or digit. Okay, so in other words, there's different equal signs, right? Equal means string exactly like this. Equal means a number. Tilde equal means the string must contain at least one letter or digit. So anytime that you're coding and you want to do something and you don't know what to do, you can come up here into the search feature and take a look. For example, we talked about the command fprintf, which is one way of writing data into presenting data that comes out. Okay, so it just tells you exactly how to use it and then gives you a couple of examples. So the help feature is really great as far as that goes. So those things are sort of more specific to MATLAB. fprintf is really specific, I guess is what I would have to say. These structures, the if else if statements, remember we talked about that with the Hello World program that we just looked at, but we have if, else if, else if, else if, and then we have to end with an else. Okay, so in other words, the else is the default. If none of these things happen, the data, the input slips through the data structure to the end, and then something happens at the end. If something goes wrong in the data, if something goes wrong in that decision structure, you'll get an error message that will come out in red. It's not your statement, it's some other statement. All right. The other thing that's interesting about this, in my opinion, is every piece of code just looks different. If you look at other people, if you look at how people code, everybody has a different, it's almost a signature. So this, I don't remember who wrote this. Let's take a look at what it does. This is, you take those grades that you have and you put them into a pie chart. So if this one runs, this would be really fun because one thing, so I talked about things that it does easy and does more difficult. MATLAB just rocks at putting out pie charts and graphs of every single kind. You can make them just amazing. You can make amazing graphs. And you can do it without very much input at all. All right, so let's do it. 15 credits. Let's just go with 3 classes. They're each going to be 5 credits. 1000 has 5 credits. And my grade, I get an A in that course. And then 1001. And it's also 5 credits, and I get a B in that course. And then I get 1002, and I get a C in that course. Whoops, 2, I just messed up. You see, that's going to tell me something here. It's good. Yeah, see, I messed up. I didn't put in the right number of credits. But let's try again. Oh, see, this one kicks me right back to the beginning. Maybe I'm going to get to do it all over again. Let's find out. 12, 3, 1000, 5 credits with an A. 1001, 5 credits with a B. And then finally, 1002 is 5 credits with a C. Still doesn't like it. All right. All right. So it doesn't like that for some reason. Now, oh, there's my pie chart. Somebody else's pie chart. This isn't the one I created, but they kicked out into something else. So this is if you had 5 courses. And you have ES 1060, this course is 1000, English, chemistry, and math. They're each weighted differently. And it shows you out on pie chart. So, but that's really how easily we can get a pie chart. And you can just change it. And then if you don't want the pie chart, let's see, let's go down to the line of code here. We can change the color map here, but in here is this person spent a lot of time on colors. Sorry, I got, okay, this is cute. This is a really cute little program. Let me just see here. And right. Anyway, this is just this person spent a lot of time formatting their output in using different colors, and so I like that program. It's pretty cute. It's not really effective in doing what it wants to do, but it does a pretty good job. All right, this is another one, and then I'm going to quit doing this, but this is a program. Oh, this is actually one I wrote. I don't remember if this one works or not. We're going to find out in just a second here. This is if you're paving a highway, how much materials you need based on the length and the width of the highway and the lanes. So that's always kind of an interesting program. But let me come over here. It kicked me into a weird place. It's going to run in this feature, so I'm going to have to pull this back up again. The other thing is if MATLAB sort of bugs out on you and won't work properly, sometimes you have to just get out of it and come back in. It just, the version that we have online or on the system especially, really just is kind of picky about weird little things, and it gets little gremlins in it. So anytime if things don't just stop working properly, if you kick out of that program, then very often it will work out just fine. Let's take a look. Okay. So I just came out, it wasn't recognizing, I wasn't in my command prompt window, I wasn't getting what I wanted. The ribbon wasn't adjusting to it. So I just put this in as being some new code. So let's just see if we can run it, see what it says. Okay, the length of the highway in miles, let's just say it's 30 miles long. It's a big old highway. Input of each lane in feet, let's make them 25 feet each. And the input number of lanes, let's make it 3, because we're going to keep it turning lane. The depth of the base in inches, let's say it's 18 inches, not very deep. It'll tell me the volume of the base that's required. Okay, so then what it's basically saying is I'm going to build that highway. It's just a volumetric computation. I'm going to need 660,000 cubic yards of material. Then there are different materials in that base. So I need to input percents. The other thing you need to do is to make sure the percents add up to 100, or else it'll kick you back out again. And I don't remember offhand if I have concrete and gravel and clay. Oh, okay. So do you see what this program does? There's going to be concrete, gravel, and clay. But because I wanted it to add up to 100%, I enter the first two, and then it just subtracts it from 100 so that it makes it be 100%. So that's just me checking for bad math. So let's say 25% and 30%. So that's 55%. So then the next one should be 45%. There we go. And then we're going to enter the cost. We get a bargain. We're going to spend 140, 150, and $160 per cubic yard. And then it will come up with the total cost in dollars. So that's just a little program in case that's the sort of thing. You can do this on a spreadsheet as well. But if you're working with numbers like this, if you're working with factors like this, you know, like the cost of how much clay would be really humongous difference in what your final highway estimate cost would be. So something like this will just automate that process for you, so you don't have to keep doing it over and over again, and writing it on a piece of paper, using pieces of paper, and coming back and trying to find where it begins again. All right, so these are just some ideas, even though we're not in class finished with the program, it's with learning to use MATLAB itself. I wanted to show you that because I wanted you to have a feel for what that's going to be like when you start coding yourself. So the next pieces of the puzzle for us, we are just working through our programming skills. And like I said, we're just going to write 2 programs. We're just going to do the Hello World program and the temperature conversion program. So if you look at that, if you look at today, the pseudocode is due. So I'll look at your pseudocode, and then yeah, just writing it out in English kind of stuff. Up to 10. Yeah. No, the pseudocode is writing your program basically in the English language, like writing an algorithm for what you want your MATLAB program to do. So it's pre-language, it's before you get to MATLAB, but it's just like saying, I'll start by asking for user input. And the input is going to be, like I said, I would suggest if you print out and it says like, if it's degrees Fahrenheit, enter the number 1. If it's degrees Celsius, enter the number 2, or something like that. It really bypasses a lot of that string problem that MATLAB has. If you want to enter it as F's and C's and so forth, good for you. It doesn't work, but it's easier. Yes, yes, you can. I just really like in MATLAB at this stage is just using numbers and strings. So that's what I'm thinking. So could I just be like that? Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yep. Anyway, good questions. Good questions. So that's the pseudocode is actually due today. I won't get it graded until this weekend, but just so you know that. And then we'll finish off the MATLAB onboarding. You'll finish that off on your own asynchronously by Monday of next week. And then we're going to start working on, got the temperature conversion, there's the MATLAB onboarding, there's the pseudocode. These are all not for you guys, you don't have to do that. Completing the MATLAB onboarding. And then after that, yeah, so like on Wednesday next, we're going to start on actually coding those 2 programs. If you get excited and you want to work with MATLAB, I would suggest starting to work with the Hello World program, okay? And it doesn't have to say Hello World, it's just that that's a traditional thing. So you ask for some sort of input, and then you output the words, whatever, good morning, or buenos dias, or whatever you want to say, you know. So what questions do you have? The whole thing, yeah. Is that what I said, or is it on here differently? Let's look. Let's look. Take a look what I have. Complete thing. All sections by Monday, September 16th. Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, so then if you just submit that, the certificate through our Moodle page, you'll be set. All right. And then, like I said, if you want to, on Wednesday next week, we'll get started writing code for Hello World. And we'll get started writing code for the temperature conversions. But you can also get started on that on your own if you choose. There's no obligation to, but I have to say if you want to. You can start with AI, like for example, but it's not gonna compile. But if you wanted to use AI, let me show you. I don't know if you guys have a preferred AI program that you like to use. But let's see here. Share the screen. And I like to use, it's called Gemini. Used to be called Bard AI, and it's just a Google product. But if you say, for example, and right now it's free. I don't suppose it's going to stay free forever, but we'll see, right? I'm gonna go to Bard. This is an easier way to get in. Okay. No, that's just gonna bug me. All right. There we go. All right. So if I were to prompt, I would say write MATLAB code to convert degrees Fahrenheit to degrees C. Let's just see if they'll do it. All right. So there you go. This is not truly MATLAB code. So I'm just saying, so please feel free to start. And if you put stuff back in, if you give them feedback, perhaps it will make the program a little bit better. But basically what they're doing here is declaring a function that converts Fahrenheit to Celsius. This line of code, I don't believe is going to work. This would work, except for we've got that string problem once again. So, and this, of course, it does have a percent sign out front, so it will read it as a comment. But sometimes it's kind of fun to start with this, you know, and if you put that into the programming environment for MATLAB, you might be surprised at what it tells you. And you'll think, well, artificial intelligence is not so intelligent after all. There are some things it's very, very good at, and some things it's not very, very good at. So I've used it once in a while, changing the subject just slightly from this. Every now and then I try to solve an engineering science problem in it, like a mechanics of materials or a dynamics problem. And it's really hit or miss. There was one time where it got really close. It was a pretty complicated problem. And I asked for an answer in a force unit, and it gave me the answer in kilograms. The answer was numerically correct, but kilograms is a measure of mass, and newtons is a measure of force. So any engineering teacher would recognize that there was a problem with that, you know. So but it's a good place to start. And if you do use AI in any significant way, I don't really think it works very well yet, but if you use AI in any significant way, just let me know. You can put it in one of your comments and we'll go from there. All right. All right. Do you guys have any questions for me at this point? All right. Well, that's it for today. And then, gentlemen, I'll go ahead and stop recording. But like I said, I won't be here Monday. I will be available by email and by text. So do not hesitate to get a hold of me. I have a meeting in Laramie, and it's great. It's a great meeting, but it will just be a long drawn out sort of a thing, and we're not doing it virtually. So I've really gotten used to doing meetings in Laramie on Zoom, and I really kind of love it, but this one's not going to work that way. So I'll be available though if you need me. So do not hesitate to email or text.